How's everybody doing? My name is Christopher Brown from Sports Talk with Chris. And today we're going to talk about my Philadelphia 76ers. Now, if you can't tell, you see my starter jacket. You see the banner right there. I have AI right there. Iggy right there. Something else, Iggy right here. I'm a big Sixers fan. Been a Sixers fan all my life. I'm going to start hanging up more sports things behind me to really set up my whole entire studio, my makeshift studio. But let's talk about these Sixers now. There's been a lot of reports, and I'm getting this out the way early, that the Rockets want to blow everything up. And since Daryl Morey came to Philadelphia, there's reports that we're going to make that trade and try to get James Harden. Now, before I dive into my thoughts on that, let me tell you why I think the Sixers are going to be so good next year. The biggest problem to me was the coaching staff. The head coaches, the whole coaching staff in general, not being able to use their talent the right way, putting them in the best position for them to succeed. We really got this coaching staff. To me, this is one of the best coaching staffs in the NBA. Doc Rivers as the head coach. Everybody wants to say, well, Doc this, well, Doc that. This is what I'm going to say. You can't say, oh, he only has one ring, but then go around and say Rick Carlisle's a top 5 coach, but you don't give Doc Rivers the same type of success. It's not his fault the Clippers team didn't show up in Game 7. It's not his fault that the team didn't show up previous years all the time in the playoffs, that they blow leads, that they're exhausted. That's not on him. Doc Rivers is a great coach. He's a player coach, and he's going to be able to get the best out of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, which is probably the most important thing. You look at our assistants. We went out and got Sam Cassell. I'll call Sam Cassell the point guard guru. Look what he did, with Chris Paul. Look what he did with John Wall. Now he has Ben Simmons. I think Sam Cassell is really going to help Ben Simmons' games out. We went and got David Yeager. Man, our coaching staff is legit. Popeye Jones, Brian Adams, Eric Hughes. Our coaching staff is legit. And now with us going to get Daryl Morey, and he's going to be, to me, the guy that's going to really make these moves. So with this James Harden thing, I don't like it at all. The only way I'll accept it and, be happy about it is if we somehow can get James Harden without trading away Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And, I mean, if you look at our roster, people say, oh, that's impossible. Not really. If the Rockets want to blow everything up, it's something that they don't have right now that they need. Draft picks. We have 5 draft picks this year. 1 in the first round, 4 in the second. The Rockets could easily flip those second-round picks to get more picks in the first rounds this year, next year, and years after. So with 5 draft picks, we got a lot of space to do things. We have Josh Richardson right now, who's up for a player option that he can skedaddle if he needs to. We have Al Horford contract we need to get rid of because I stand on this. That was a terrible move by the Philadelphia 76ers. They signed a center. This is the reason of all our problems. We signed Al Horford, $29 million a year, aging center, when Joel Embiid had his best season the year prior. Now you're handicapping him. This is why I had problems, with the coaching staff, but Ellen Brand for making this move. They handicapped Joel Embiid. They didn't put him in the best position to succeed. They should have realized early that these two really can't coexist on the floor together 35-plus minutes, so Al Horford should have been coming off the bench. And I feel like Doc Rivers would have saw that immediately and made the right move. I don't like the fact that the coaching staff tried to stick out with that, and it didn't work at all. So Al Horford is somebody that can go. Tobias Harris, I'm a big Tobias Harris fan. I really like him, but for us to max him out, I don't think that was a smart move for now and especially the future. He has to be, a key player in the trade as long as we're getting a good player back. And if, you tell me I got to get rid of Tobias Harris for James Harden, I'm doing it easily. We know what James Harden brings, but I'm not giving up Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid for James Harden. I've been hearing, James Harden and Joel Embiid are going to be unstoppable. That's fine. James Harden and Ben Simmons can run their little pick and roll version. That's fine. But at the end of the day, James Harden, his playoff performances aren't the best. And we're in championship winning mode. To me, we have a 5-year window because that's how much Doc Rivers signed for. That's how long Daryl Morey signed for. And, in the next 3 to 5 years, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are really going to be in their prime. So I understand his win now, but I don't think James Harden is the answer if you got to get rid of Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons hasn't even come close to tapping his full potential. We know what James Harden is. We know he's going to bring you offense. He's going to give you some defense, not as good as Ben Simmons being able to guard 1 through 5. James Harden, once he's off, he's off. Once he's off, he's off. And that's the problem with me if he's going to be the guy with the ball in his hands majority of the time shooting up most of the shots. I just don't like that. With Ben Simmons, I know he's still going to play, get to the basket, rebound, and defend. Not taking anything away from James Harden. To me, he should have 2 or 3 MVPs right now. James Harden is the truth. But I'm not going to give up on young talent when a young talent has had a chance to blossom yet. Ben Simmons really hasn't been in the best opportunity for him to succeed thus far. Everyone wants to talk about the jump shot, the jump shot, the jump shot. Well, there's certain things inside his game that he can improve, and you'll forget that he doesn't shoot because that 16 points is going to 22, 23. I'm not, I would never say trade away Ben Simmons unless I'm getting LeBron, unless I'm getting Dame Lillard. Not even Dame. It's really, unless I'm getting LeBron, I don't know who I'm really trading away for Ben Simmons. KD? Maybe not. I lied. I'm not trading away none of those guys because, they're getting old. There's nobody I'd probably give up for Ben Simmons. Honestly, like, the more I think about it, I don't think it's anybody. Not Jason Tatum, not Devin Booker. I'm not getting rid of none of those guys for Ben Simmons. So if I'm not doing that, I'm definitely not, making that move for James Harden. Now, I do believe if we can do this without getting rid of Ben Simmons and Embiid, then I'm fine with that. Like I said, if that's Tobias Harris having to leave, Josh Richardson having to leave, Al Horford having to leave, Thibault, even though I think Thibault, to me, I don't want to move him because I like that defense he brings off the bench and the fact that he can come into the starting lineup and bring that. So I really don't want to get rid of Thibault, but if I can get James Harden without getting rid of my 2 top guys, that's a move that I look into, honestly, I think I said what I said about James Harden. He's a good player, but I'm not trading Ben Simmons for him. And other people say, "Oh, well, Ben Simmons this and Ben Simmons that." They act like Ben Simmons is in year 8. He's going into year 4, still trying to develop his game. It's like everybody wants you to be great now, great now, great now. I want him to be great now, but I understand some things take time, and this is just taking time right now. So when it's time for us to win, it's going to be time for us to win. Now, with Daryl Morey being that guy, basketball operations, him and Brand, I do think they're going to make some moves. Like I said, Tobias Harris, we signed him to a contract that is not going to be good for us for the next couple of years. A max deal, we shouldn't have done that. But I feel like he might be on the trading block if we can get a good player, from him. Al Horford definitely has to go. 1, for money reasons. 2, because he's not going to fit nowhere on the basketball court with Joel Embiid there, with Ben Simmons there. We need more floor spacers. Josh Richardson, he's up for a player option. Do we re-sign him? I don't know. I feel like, he was iffy in the regular season, but again, I feel like the system played a part in a lot of people's numbers really, degressing. Joel Embiid went from 27 to 23. He wasn't getting the ball in the same spots he's used to. Ben Simmons created the most three-point opportunities for any team in the league with the Philadelphia 76ers, but he had no shooters. So I feel like the system wasn't the best in Philly. So now bringing in Doc Rivers, hopefully we can make some trades. And there's a lot of guys right now that, I don't want to say want to be traded, but could be traded that the Sixers need to look after. First of all, Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's a guy that can give you 18 or 20, good three-point shooting percentage. He's a good shooter. Buddy Hield's a good player. So if I have to get rid of, a Josh Richardson or an Al Horford to get a Buddy Hield, I'm doing it. Why? Because he's a floor spacer. He's a guard that can shoot the ball. Tobias can always play the 4 if we have to keep him. I mean, that's what he did when we had, Jimmy Butler, J.J. Redick. So I'm comfortable moving Tobias to the 4. So we can bring another wing in there that can score, shoot the ball efficiently. I'm fine with that. Drew Holiday, New Orleans Pelicans, bring him back. Listen, Drew Holiday is that guy. To me, he's the most underrated basketball player in the league. It's not even close. He can guard any single position he wants to. He can play on ball, off ball. He's a real combo guard. He can give you 20 and 5 assists. He can shoot decent. So, him and Ben Simmons would be a great backcourt. He's definitely a better defender than Josh Richardson. And Josh Richardson isn't a bad defender, but Drew Holiday is really, to me, first team on defense. And I feel like you pair him and Ben Simmons together in that backcourt. I mean, who's scoring against that? Then, like I said, Drew Holiday can play on and off ball. So if Ben Simmons in that dunker role, or Ben Simmons setting screens, Drew Holiday can easily take over and be the point guard for a little bit. I mean, he was an all-star with the Philadelphia 76ers. Only time being an all-star, he was playing point guard. Then you have Victor Oladipo with the Indiana Pacers. Now, there's been a lot of reports saying, he doesn't want to be there. He was saying that in games that, hey, can I come play with y'all? So if Victor Oladipo's on the trading block, Philadelphia 76ers, that's something we should look after. I feel like if we can get him, instead of Josh Richardson, if we can replace those two, that's going to be fine for us. One, because I feel like Victor Oladipo can do more with the ball in his hands than Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson, to me, He's better at catch and shoot. I feel like he worked on his game throughout the year and it's shown where he can do stuff off the dribble. But Victor Oladipo can really get a bucket off the dribble. And Victor Oladipo is still a good defender. He's a better scorer. He's just a better player overall. So if we can get Victor Oladipo and replace Josh Richardson, then I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Right now we really don't need. We need a guard in that lineup or a forward and some bench guys. Speaking of some bench guys, this popped up in my phone earlier. Sixers trying to trade Josh Richardson for Lou Will and Landry Shamet. I could do that and throw some picks in there. I would definitely do that for sure because Landry Shamet, to me, he was going to be, taking that J.J. Redick role for the future. And it's sad that we had to get rid of him, but I'll definitely bring him back. And Lou Will, everybody knows how I feel about Lou Will. I would never, ever slander Lou Will's name. Lou Will's the best six man of all time. And for the Philadelphia 76ers, having two guys like that, we probably would start Shamet just because we're getting Richardson, which is fine because he's the guy that's going to space out the floor. And he shows improvement on defense. I'm not saying he's all NBA first team defense, but Landry Shamet, he competes on the defensive end. So if we can add a knockdown shooter right there and Lou Will coming off the bench, that's instant offense. Because that's something the Sixers really need to add. Alec Burks, Glenn Robinson, we traded for those guys throughout the season. They might not, return to the team. So if we can get, Milton, unless we trade them, but you have Milton and you have Lou Will as a backcourt that can get buckets, I'm fine with that. Then when I look at our bench, we got Thibault, he's the defender. Scott, he's inconsistent, but he really has to be that stretch forward, that stretch five off the bench for us. And then we still need a backup center. Pell's all right, but we probably going with somebody that can, be that Dwight Howard for us, honestly. They can come off the bench and really rebound, really defend, and make a true impact for the Philadelphia 76ers. But when I look at our roster, we have a lot, We have a lot to make some moves with. Ben Simmons, for me, if I had to pick three people that I want to keep for the long term, that I think are the three untouchables, if you ask me, is Ben Simmons. Why Ben Simmons? Because I truly believe Ben Simmons is one of the best point guards in the game. And like I said, he hasn't even reached his full potential. I mean, it's crazy how people, if you're not great one game, they say, oh, you're trash. Yet we've seen so many superstars take a couple years to really tap in their full potential. Once they get going, they're the best players in the game. For me, when I look at Ben Simmons, you look at Brandon Ingram this year, new scenery, new coach, new system, his game jumped. He always had it in him, from a 16, 17-point score to 23 plus. All the efficiencies jumped up, made a first-time All-Star. When I look at Ben Simmons, I'm like, okay, he can rebound with the best of them. He can defend. Honestly, it's a strong argument he could have won Defensive Player of the Year because he's really guarding 1 through 5. He's really guarding every team's best player, no matter the position. So when I look at Ben Simmons, I say, okay, he's there. The defensive end, rebound, and playmaking. Of course, the offense has to take a next step. Everybody wants to say if he doesn't take jump shots, he's not useful. Wrong. We've seen great guards in the game be useful without a jump shot. Now, does he have to add at least a mid-range? Yes, I'm not worried about the three-pointer. But if he can attempt those 15, 17-foot mid-ranges, if he can work on that pull-up mid-range, because you got to remember, Russell Westbrook, he worked up on that pull-up midi, and it became dangerous. So if Ben Simmons can add something like that into his game, it will improve. But for me, like I said, it's never about the jump shot. If this dude was aggressive in the paint like Giannis, when Giannis goes into the paint, Giannis tries to dunk on you. That's what separates Giannis for me. Giannis, he's not soft. If he goes into the paint, he may travel, whatever. That's up in the air. But regardless, when he gets in that paint, he's trying to tear the rim down. He's trying to tear your head off and dunk on you. And Ben Simmons, when I look at him, he's 6'10", 240 pounds. There's no excuse why he's not going to the rim aggressive, more aggressive than anybody. He's bigger than anybody out there. He's big as centers playing point guard. He's athletic, more athletic than almost anybody out there. He should be going to the rim like Giannis. If he had that mindset, I think nobody would really be talking about his jump shot because how dominant he is in the paint. When I look at Ben Simmons, sometimes you look at it, he's like 4 for 10. Why? Because he's taking those fadeaway layups, those leaning away layups, like he's scared of contact, which makes no sense. If you go to the free throw line, okay, if you go 1 for 2, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if you foul out their best rim protector, that's helping out Joel Embiid because now he has a center that's not that good on him. So I feel like Ben Simmons needs to be way more aggressive in the paint. If he does that, like I said, going from averaging 16, 8, and 8, to be honest, next year I wouldn't be surprised if this guy averages a triple-double with Doc Rivers. Because I'm confident in this team to add shooters around him. I said before, and I've been saying for a while, this dude create so many threes for a team that had no shooters. If you get at least 3 solid shooters in that starting lineup with him and some shooters off the bench that are consistent, Ben Simmons is easily going to lead this league in assists. He can easily average 10-plus rebounds if he wanted to, and his offense will improve next year. I guarantee that. My next untouchable, Joel Embiid. Everybody wants to say Nikola Jokic is the best center in the game. Understandable because of that playoff run, but let's not act like Joel Embiid, he's a scrub. I was talking to my friend when he was like, well, what if Joel has 8, 9, 10 points? Jokic does that too. What Joel Embiid does need to work on to me is being healthy, being healthy on and off the court, getting in shape. Talk to Charles Barkley. I don't know if Charles hasn't reached out. I don't know what's going over there. I hope that he would. Charles Barkley to me is always going to be a Sixers legend. Always going to be a legend, one of my favorite players of all time. And he said multiple times, Moses, Doc, Maurice Cheeks, all, the veterans on that team, they held him accountable. They said they made him lose weight, because that losing weight is going to help him on the court. He was still dominant, but when Charles Barkley was in his prime, nobody could stop him. Nobody could stop him. So I feel like if Joel Embiid loses some weight, gets more healthy, 1, he's going to be on the court longer, 2, he's going to be able to play more games, and 3, I think his game is just going to improve. He's going to, be more in shape on the court. He can run up and down the court more. He'll have more energy on the offense and defensive end. But let's not forget last year, not last season, I want to say the season before last, we had Jimmy, we had JJ. Joel Embiid was averaging 27 and 14. This year, I stated again and again and again, Al Horford was the worst move the 76ers team could have ever did. It really stunted, to me, people's growth. And I'm glad that we fired Brett Brown. Hopefully, all respect to him. But hopefully now we can trade away Al Horford because we realized that move did not work. This is not the 1990s. Joel Embiid numbers dropped this year. His game dropped this year because he had another stationary center next to him, a center that, Al Horford is best kind of with the ball in his hands, and he's really best from the three-point line. And he can stretch up to the three-point line, but that's not his game. He shouldn't be shooting 5, 6 three-pointers a game because he's only going to knock down 2. Out of 6, he's going to knock down 2. No, I need, Al Horford at his best when he can run that pick and roll, that pick and pop, when he can play make. Al Horford is still a quality center in this NBA, but his game took a step back, and most importantly, Joel Embiid's game took a step back. So I hope people aren't looking at that saying, oh, he needs to go. No, understand the circumstances he was in. Joel Embiid is the best center in the game. 1, Jokic may be a better passer, but when you're talking about offense, again, buckets-wise, Joel Embiid can do that, I think, better than anybody in this game. 2, his defense is here where Jokic's defense is here. Jokic is undisciplined and lazy on the defensive end. Joel Embiid is one of the best defensive centers in the game. He's definitely a shot blocker. He can protect the rim, and he's one of the best rebounders in the game. I understand Jokic is a great passer, but Joel Embiid, he knows how to sense a double team and kick it out to open shooters. If we had better shooters on our team, he probably average 5, 6, 7 assists right now. So, Joel Embiid's untouchable. Then my third untouchable for me, looking at this roster, is Matisse Thybulle. Everybody's like, why you like Matisse Thybulle so much? Why you like Matisse Thybulle so much? Because like I said, I feel like our window is really in these 5 years with Doc being signed 5 years, Morey signing 5 years. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons really going to be in their prime, throughout these 5 years. And who else game I think is going to improve and possibly be a starter for this team in the future? Matisse Thybulle. He's a defensive guy. This dude right here is a defensive guy. He locks down, everybody on the defensive end. He can guard the 1 through 4. He's going to bring through on that defensive end. His offensive game is improving. He was becoming more confident as the season goes on. I really feel like if he works on that jump shot, he's really one of the best 3-and-D guys in his game. And he can do more than just 3-and-D. He's the guy that can put the ball on the ground. He can cut to the basket. He can finish amongst the trees. So I feel like why he's untouchable for me? Because when Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid really start taking their step in the next 1 or 2 years, Matisse Thybulle to me is going to be a big part in this team, especially on the defensive end. Having a lot of defenders on your team that can guard multiple positions is a key for the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't think we ever had an identity when, we started getting Joel healthy, when Ben Simmons became healthy, when Brett Brown was the head coach, with Jimmy. Even when Jimmy was there, I really didn't feel like we have an identity. This year, we did not have an identity. I feel like our identity needs to be the defensive end. And Matisse Thybulle can really, really help with that. Everybody else, to me, if you want to trade him, you want to trade him. Shake, I became more of a fan of Shake a little bit in the playoffs. I never thought he should start. When Ben Simmons was healthy, I'm like, why are we starting Shake? We need somebody off the bench that can give us buckets. And I feel like that's where Shake can, impact the game the most. If he's in the starting lineup with Ben Simmons and Tobias and all those guys, he's not really going to have a chance to put the ball on the ground and excel. He's going to be more of a stationary guy, a 3-and-D guy, a guy that's a spot up. And I don't think that's the best role for him. I think Shake can create offense with the ball in his hand rather than just standing still and shooting threes. That's why I wasn't a fan of this guy starting. But him coming off the bench, he could really be that, Reggie Jackson was with the Thunder. The Lou Will, the Jamal Crawford, the guy off the bench that could just bring immediate offense, whether that's scoring or playmaking. I feel like that's Shake's best role for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I think he's going to excel in that. But he can go if we have to be traded. Like, my 3 untouchables is really Ben Simmons, Thibault, and Embiid. But, when I look at this roster, this how I'm going to end it off. What do we need to add for this roster for us to be championship ready? Well, we got the right coaching staff. That's fine. Now we need to get backups. We need to get backups and get rid of Horford and get rid of Tobias Harris. That's really it. I just want to say thank you for everybody, watching this. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, sportsw_Chris. You can like my Facebook page, Sports Talk with Chris. More content's going to be coming out soon. Thank you for watching. Go Sixers, best team in the East, and peace out.